Hi, I am so excited to have you guys with me this morning or today, because it could be afternoon by the time you guys are watching this. Let me start over. Hey, I'm so glad you're here with me today. I'm so excited to teach you all about potholder rug making. And I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of history in case this is the first time you've stumbled across my video, and tell you a little bit more about my process. So to start with, back in 1990, I was running a production company that made all kinds of things that we currently still make and have morphed and changed a little bit over time. But I ran a business that was making blankets, rugs, clothing, stuffed toys, all kinds of things, all made out of 100% recycled materials, and we sold to stores all over the world. So potholder rugs came about because we were compiling this huge pile of scrap material that we couldn't use for all the other products that we were manufacturing and selling. And I'm an avid recycler, and I'm really interested in having as small human impact as I can on the planet. So I was looking at this growing pile of material that wasn't being used and thinking, what could I possibly make this into? The material had holes, it had stains, it was not kind of the best of the best material. So over time, I kind of just thought about it. And then one day I came into the studio and I just thought, oh my gosh, I think I have it. I'm going to make this potholder rug loom, and I'm gonna just try it and see. So I had a couple canvas stretchers that were kicking around the studio. I had a box of these little wimpy like finishing nails, and I just quickly put together this loom, and it actually held up just long enough to make the very first rug that I ever made, which I actually still have. It's right here. This is the first rug I ever made. It's a nice 4x6 foot rug. It was in my son's nursery when he was a baby. He was born in 1992, so I actually had made it a couple of years before he was born. And it's actually, as you can see, it's held up really well for all of those years. And it gets washed in the washing machine. It's just a super durable, really colorful, nice thing to have in your home. The thing that happened with the potholder rugs was not only were they the answer to this big problem that I was having with materials, but they also sold really well. People loved them. We made them for all kinds of stores all over the world, and we had a couple of large volume retailers that sold them really well for many years. So ABC Carpet and Home was a big account for us, and we also sold to Room and Board. They carried multiple colors and multiple sizes in their stores and in their catalogs. So I'm really excited. I've been teaching this process in person for years. People love this class. And finally, after really kind of putting it off for a while, I'm here, and I'm so excited to be able to offer this online class for you guys today. So I'm looking forward to getting started. So we're going to get started, and I just want to kind of run through the tools that you'll need. You'll need a loom like this. You'll need a rotary cutter and then a pair of nice sharp fabric scissors. The rotary cutter comes with a cutting pad. You can buy them at like any local craft store like Joann's or Michael's or anything like that. And they normally come like a cutter and a ruler and a big mat. The looms that we actually make and sell these looms, and this is our smallest loom. It's for making chair pads. And then we make this size, which I call our bath mat loom. And then the size we'll be working on today is this size. It makes a 2.5 by 3.5 foot rug. It's nice for like a kitchen rug, like in front of your sink. They're made out of wood. They're fastened at the corners. They come apart so you can store them easily, and they don't take up as much room. And then there's a heavyweight screw placed evenly around the edge. They're 1 inch apart. So there we have it. Cool. So we're going to get started with our materials, and actually I'm just going to run through a couple things here. There's you can use any material that is stretchy. So when I say material, I'm talking about used clothing. And this obviously is a knit vest. There's all kinds of different things you can use. Here's a little top that's also, it's stretchy, so it's a knit. If you guys are familiar with fabrics, you'll know that knits are stretchy and wovens are sometimes stretchy if there's a lot of spandex mixed in. But for this process, knits are kind of the thing to stick with just to get started. This is a polar fleece top, so you can see any kind of stretchy material works really well. And you can find materials in the back of your closet. You can ask your friends. You can go to the Lost and Found at the school at the end of the school year. You can, there's actually lots of different places you can find material. So you can go to like t-shirt places that print t-shirts. Oftentimes will have mistakes that they made, and they actually throw them away. So you are helping them out by using their material. And then, of course, you can go to the Salvation Army, Goodwill, or whatever thrift store you might have in your area. You can even use pants. These are a pair of fleece pants I found at the thrift store. One of the things that's really nice about shopping at our local thrift stores is that they are generally sorted by color. So if you have a color in mind or a palette in mind for what you want to make a rug, what color you want to make a rug, you can, make it. It's really kind of fun and easy to shop that way when everything is kind of hung on hangers in rainbow order. So to make your material into loops, which is what we use to weave with, we're going to just lay them down flat on your surface, and you're going to use your rotary cutter. And to use a rotary cutter, you apply pressure down and you push forward at the same time, and it makes a nice even cut. And it's much easier on your body than using scissors. But if you don't have a rotary cutter and you just kind of want to get started without the investment, which rotary cutters can be quite expensive, you certainly can use scissors. It just takes a little longer. So I'm cutting these about 2.5 inches wide. The width of your material does not really matter, and I'll show you why as we go. But this is kind of a nice width just to start with. And as you go along and you start using different thickness materials, you'll know you can cut your thinner materials with a wider loop so that the bulk of each piece is similar. Okay, so here we go. We cut right up to the armpits of this vest, and now we have this piece here. So we can fold it this way, and we can get a couple more loops out here. So there's one, and we'll make it right down to the width we can, and we'll just make 2. So now we have 3 little pieces of scrap here. This is one kind of big piece and then 2 small pieces. So that's pretty good considering we're going to use the rest of that whole garment. And actually, as a side note, I am an avid recycler, like I said. What I do with these larger pieces is I fold them over like that and I sew them on my sewing machine to make another loop. So then the scrap is really very minimal. Okay. It's the same kind of process as the vest, but this time around we have, we'll go right up to the zipper here. That it's gonna we can make one little thin loop there. And again, it doesn't really matter how wide your loops are. I'm gonna go back in there and just cut that with scissors in a minute. So, because I went through the zipper behind there, so it didn't cut all the way through. But the sleeves are also very useful. And you can just do the same thing. You're just going to cut straight across, right up to the armpit. So what you want is you want them to all be circular loops. Like if they're not a loop, they don't work for this process. And then we'll cut this other sleeve here. Same thing goes. There's a little pocket there. Just cut right over there. There we go. So on this particular garment, we have a little bit more waste generated just because there's that zipper there, which doesn't really work for a loop. But we can certainly use that somewhere else in our process. We're going to fold these over and then just and the other thing that I didn't say is that you want to wash and dry all your material first. Okay, so we have our material prepared, we have our loom all set up, and we're ready to start weaving. The first thing we're going to do is take our loops and we're going to make them long enough. This is the most common question I get asked about potholder rugs is, how do you make the loops long enough? They don't reach. And there's a magic trick involved. This is like really all you need to know about potholder rug making. So you take 2 loops and you actually, I'm going to do this kind of close so that you can get it, one on each wrist, and you hold one and the other and then you pull them through. And it's pretty simple, but like I said, it is the most common question I'm asked. So I'm going to do it a couple times for you. Okay, so here's a loop. I think this one's actually long enough to make the distance. Yep. Let's see. Okay. Oh, we're looking out here. Well, nope, that one's a little short. So we're going to take a short little loop. Hold on a second. I'm going to find the right one. Okay. Okay, here's a tiny little loop. And this long one. And there's a couple ways to do this knot, so I'll show you again. We're gonna pull this one through and then pull that one through. So it's kind of almost looks like a figure 8 there in the middle. Do you see how it is? And then you pull it nice and tight. And then you just put it right on your loom. And you can actually use 3 loops. So let me do that for you now too, so you can get that visual. So we're gonna let me get some different colors here. These 2 loops together, so like we did the first time, hand in hand and pull. So you have that. And then we're gonna put a 3rd loop on there. Maybe we'll even put a 4th loop. So the 3rd one is gonna go like this, through there, and then through there. Okay, so you can add as many together as you need to make the distance across your loom. And it's this one's going to have a bunch of little loops because that's just what's coming to my hands right now. To look and see, does this one fit? Yeah. Okay, so just also I want to go back. There's one here that needs another loop. Okay, so we're gonna add this piece on, give us a little bit extra length on that. And this loop right here, you can't tell because it's just something that you have to see with your hands, is a little looser than the other. So in order to make that one the even tension, because you're creating an even tension with this is your warp. So we're just going to make a hand over knot there. And that'll shorten it up a little bit, just enough to kind of make it the same tension as the other loops on the loom. So you're going to go ahead and just load your whole loom up. So we've got the loom all loaded and we're ready to start weaving. And we're going to do the same kind of knots to make our loops go horizontally. So again, we'll just go over it. There's that knot. And you're going to make the pieces go all the way across. So you can kind of get an idea of what that length is by just kind of running it across the top. Okay, so this piece is the right length. So we'll get started. It's important that you start at the bottom. It's easier to weave with gravity helping you rather than working against you. So you're going to go here. Let me do that again. I start kind of here. Go under, over, under, over, under. So this loop is going to go around that bottom screw, and then I'm going to take the other end of the loop and just follow this across. So I went under this green one, and then I'm going to go over this one, under that one. So every other one you're going to go under. And just pull it across. And kind of push it down. The weave structure is actually really important. Like, you can't really do a different weave structure and have it work well for this process because the scale is so large. You really want to have it be a simple weave, just over under process. So there's your first loop that's woven across. Once you get your first 2 loops in, it's much easier to kind of see where you're going. So let's get the second one in. If your loops are thin, like this is a little thin, you can double it like a hair tie kind of thing and make it thicker. And then you can just pretend that's like 1 loop and loop another loop into it. Okay, so let's get started with our second row. So we'll just put this on the second screw. So where you went under before, you're going to go over this time, so it should be the exact opposite of your first row. And you're going to continue with the same weaving process, just right all the way up to the top of the loom. And you want to be sure you're kind of packing it down as you go. You want to keep your, this is the material that's on the loom is called the warp, and the material that you're putting into the loom is called the weft. So your weft pieces, you want to just have them be kind of really kind of straight across your loom. You don't want it to, sometimes you get kind of a mountain in the middle, and you just want to keep that from happening by pushing down each row as you're weaving it in place. We have the rug all woven. We have everything is ready to go. So we're going to start taking the rug off the loom. And this part is super fun and really easy. It's also a little hard on your hands. So if you have sensitive fingertips or if your cuticles are sensitive, I often recommend people put on Band-Aids, and my favorite type of Band-Aids are the ones made out of fabric, so they kind of move with your fingers better than the plastic kind. So let's get started. We're going to start at the top here, and we're just going to take off 2 loops, and the new loop goes through the old loop, so this is the way. And you always want to start at the top corner and work your way down first. Super simple. So when you get to the corner, you just keep going as though it wasn't even a corner. So here's the rug off the loom. And the last loop is just pull through there on the corner. And what we're going to do is cut that loop open, doink, and pull one side of it through and just tie a knot. Super simple. I usually do a square knot, and it's just kind of, it takes a little bit because those ends are short, but if you pull on them, get them through and tie a knot, and there you go. There's your finished potholder rug. And it takes, you can see it shrinks in quite a bit. It takes a full 24 hours to finish shrinking in to get the finished size. There's all kinds of little labels and bits and sort of ends that are sticking out that you can just trim off with scissors. And that'll give you your finished rug. There you go. Have fun with it. Okay, you guys, this is it. We're done. We got the 4-part mini series behind us, and it was so much fun to be here with you, and I'm really glad you were able to make it to all these different segments and learn all about the history, the material gathering, the workspace setting up, and then finally making this beautiful rug. I hope that you really learned a lot through the process. And I know it's hard to learn all of this stuff in such a short time, so I put together a really in-depth kind of potholder rug course. It's a 5-part series with each part is running 30 to 45 minutes, and we start out with building your own loom and all the details with that. There's a bunch of bonuses, free downloads of different kinds of patterns, and actually the loom plan is a free download with that course. So it's $297, and we're kicking that off in just a couple of weeks. You can sign up with the link below. And if you have any questions or ideas or feedback for me, I'd love to hear from you. Please just send an email to hello@crispina.com, and we'll be able to respond to those emails just as quickly as possible. So thanks again for spending your time with me. I look forward to staying in touch with you with the potholder rug course.